If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. If living is without you, you know it's you, babe.
You've heard these 25 1970s love songs 1,000 times, but never knew the affairs, fights, and heartbreaks behind them. Every story is wilder than the last, and the final entry will stun you. Let's begin with number 25. If Loving You Is Wrong, I Don't Want to Be Right. Luther Ingram, 1972.
Love is wrong. I don't wanna be right.
It's 1972. America is steeped in soul music, but Luther Ingram drops a velvet confession that makes radio blush. What if loving you is wrong? I don't want to be right. This wasn't poetic metaphor. The song flatly celebrates an affair. It's sung from the point of view of a married man refusing to end it. And yet, it shot to number 1 on the R&B chart and number 3 on Billboard's Hot 100, selling over 1 million copies. Why? Maybe because the tension between moral guilt and raw desire was irresistible. Even the musicians' union debated whether such lyrics would tarnish radio's family image. But scandal didn't sink it. It turned Ingram into a household name. From this public embrace of taboo desire, we slide toward a song that started as a secret gift, but ended up fracturing friendships. Now at number 24, Babe, Styx, 1979.
Babe, I'm leaving. I must be on my way.
Dennis DeYoung writes Babe in 1979 as a birthday tape for his wife Suzanne. No plan for radio, just a private gift. But A&M Records hears it and insists on its release. It becomes Styx's first and only US #1 single, more than 1 million copies sold. The song's softer sound alienates guitarist Tommy Shaw and others who want a harder edge. This single pushes Styx toward pop ballads and fuels tension that will split the band in the early 80s. DeYoung later admits it was never meant to change their sound at all, but one gift in the studio did. And from this accidental hit, we fall into a ballad whose origins are soaked in tragedy and betrayal that no chart could hide. On to number 23, Without You, Harry Nilsson, 1971 hit written by Badfinger, 1970.
Can't live if living is without you.
In 1970, Pete Ham and Tom Evans of Badfinger write a song about 2 different heartbreaks. They fuse verses and chorus into one track, Without You. Nilsson hears it at a party, thinks it's a Beatles song, then records his own version in 1971. His cover wins a Grammy, sells over 1 million singles, and becomes a global standard. But behind the success, Badfinger is collapsing under bad management and financial ruin. Pete Ham dies by suicide in 1975. Tom Evans follows in 1983. Their creation lives on, covered by hundreds, including Mariah Carey's 1994 #1 hit. The royalties keep flowing, but not to the men who wrote it. Next comes a breezy radio sing-along hiding a plot twist that shocked even its characters. Moving forward to number 22, Escape, the Pina Colada song, Rupert Holmes, 1979.
If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain.
It begins as a throwaway filler track for Holmes's album Partners in Crime, written in under an hour. Released late 1979, it hits number 1 in the final week of the decade. The story? A man bored with his partner answers a personal ad, only to discover it's from her. This plot wasn't fiction for many listeners. The personal ads boom in the 70s fueled similar real-life mix-ups. Holmes originally wrote, "If you like Humphrey Bogart" instead of Pina Coladas. The drink swap came last minute. It becomes his signature song, selling millions worldwide. Holmes later says he never drinks pina coladas himself, but the irony is, couples everywhere adopted it as their anthem. From secret meetings in a bar, we slide into another song that never once hides it's about breaking the rules. Now at number 21, Me and Mr. Jones, Billy Paul, 1972.
Me and Mrs. Jones.
In December 1972, this silky Philly soul single hits number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100. Sold over 2 million copies. Lyrics? A man openly singing about meeting his lover every day at the same cafe. No shame, no apologies. Written by Gamble and Huff, it was inspired by a real couple seen at a Philadelphia bar. Radio stations debated banning it for promoting adultery. Instead, it won a Grammy for Best R&B Vocal Performance. Billy Paul's smooth phrasing turned scandal into elegance. The saxophone line by Eddie Green became one of the most recognizable in 70s soul. Even today, wedding bands play it, skipping over the fact it's about cheating. The next song starts with denial so petty it became immortal. Heading to number 20, I'm Not in Love, 10cc, 1975.
I'm not in love, so don't forget it.
It starts as an argument. Eric Stewart tells his wife he won't say I love you too much or it will lose meaning. He turns that into a song insisting he's not in love. The band records over 250 vocal overdubs, building a choir entirely from their own voices. No instruments for the backing, just loops of harmonies on 24 tape machines. The whispered Big Boys Don't Cry is their secretary, Kathy Redfern. It hits number 1 in the UK and number 2 in the US. Millions hear Romance. Stewart calls it sarcastic. It becomes a soundtrack for love scenes worldwide. But the truth? It's about refusing to show emotion. From icy sarcasm, we move into a love song born in the heat of a career storm. Jumping into number 19, right down the line, Jerry Rafferty, 1978.
Woman, right down the line.
Released in 1978, this track becomes Rafferty's longest-running U.S. hit, spending 11 weeks in Billboard's Top 40. It sounds like a warm love letter, but at the time, Rafferty is battling his record label in court, fighting over royalties from Stealers Wheel. He refuses to tour extensively, fearing exploitation by managers. Recorded in London's Chipping Norton Studios, the song blends reggae-inspired rhythm with soft rock. Its clean guitar lines are by Hugh Burns, later famous for George Michael's Careless Whisper solo. Fans dedicate it to partners. Rafferty says it's also about loyalty to anyone who stands by you under pressure. The calm hides a man at war with the business. Next, a Rolling Stones ballad wrapped in rumors that never die. Shifting to number 18, Angie, The Rolling Stones, 1973. Angie tops charts in over a dozen countries in 1973, including the US and Canada. Keith Richards says he wrote it while quitting heroin, naming it after his newborn daughter, Angela. Rumors swirl it's about David Bowie's wife, Angie Bowie, after she claims to have found Mick Jagger in bed with her husband. Jagger denies it. The acoustic guitar track is stripped down, recorded in a Swiss villa while the band faced tax exile from Britain. It marks a rare soft ballad from a group known for swagger. Despite constant interviews, the true inspiration remains debated 50 years later. Each version of the story keeps the mystery alive. And from mystery, we step into a song that praises love while quietly cutting deep. Now for number 17, She's Always a Woman, Billy Joel, 1977.
Yeah, she steals like a thief, but she's always a woman to me.
Released in 1977 on The Stranger, it peaks at number 17 in the US. Soft piano, tender delivery, but it's about Elizabeth Weber, Joel's wife and manager. She's praised and criticized in the same breath. Known for fierce contract negotiations, she once pulled Joel out of a bad deal by confronting the record executives head-on. The song's gentle tone masks lines like, "She can ruin your faith with her casual lies." In the UK, it charts decades later after a TV ad uses it. Joel insists it's admiration for her strength, not cruelty. Listeners remain split. Is it devotion or is it warning? From subtle barbs, we move to a ballad written for love but buried after divorce. Heading into number 16, Just the Way You Are, Billy Joel, 1977.
I take you just the way you are.
Joel writes it in 1977 for Weber's birthday. He almost scraps it until bandmate Linda Ronstadt and producer Phil Ramone push to keep it. Wins 2 Grammys in 1979, Record of the Year and Song of the Year. Saxes by Phil Woods give it a jazz edge that stands out on pop radio. After Joel and Weber divorce in 1982, he stops performing it live for years, calling it too personal. It still becomes a wedding standard played at thousands of ceremonies worldwide. The irony is heavy, a timeless love song tied to a marriage that couldn't last. From shelved romance, we go to a track that sounded pure until illness gave it haunting weight. Moving into number 15, Lovin' You, Minnie Riperton, 1974.
Loving you is easy 'cause you're beautiful.
Recorded in 1974 for her album Perfect Angel, co-written with husband Richard Rudolph. The chirping birds you hear? Recorded in a studio courtyard to capture real ambience. Riperton's whistle register vocals reach F-sharp 7, one of the highest notes ever in a pop hit. It becomes a global success, topping the US Billboard Hot 100 in April 1975. In 1976, Riperton reveals she has breast cancer and is given only months to live. She becomes a spokesperson for the American Cancer Society, performing the song even during treatment. She dies in July 1979 at just 31 years old. The song remains frozen in time, pure joy shadowed by mortality. From soaring notes, we drop into a soul anthem that turned tragedy into transformation. On to number 14, Let's Stay Together, Al Green, 1971.
Let's stay together, loving you.
Released late 1971, it becomes Green's first number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100, staying there for 9 weeks, the longest run that year. Its blend of gospel and soul defines his career. In 1974, after a show in Memphis, girlfriend Mary Woodson pours boiling grits on him while he bathes, causing severe burns. She then dies by suicide in his home. Green interprets it as a sign to change direction. And by 1976, he's an ordained pastor, balancing ministry with selective recording. The song survives as a wedding favorite, but its creator's life took a permanent right turn that night. From a vow of togetherness, the next track is bound by disputes over who truly gave it life. Stepping into number 13, Killing Me Softly with his song, Roberta Flack, 1973.
Killing me softly with his song, killing me softly.
The melody is soft, but its history is sharp. Written in 1971 by Charles Fox and Norman Gimbel, after singer Lori Lieberman describes seeing Don McLean live. She says his performance felt like he was singing her life. Lieberman records it first, but her version stalls. Roberta Flack hears it on a plane, arranges it slower, deeper, and releases it in 1973. It hits number 1 on Billboard for 5 weeks, wins 3 Grammys, and sells over 2 million copies. For decades, Lieberman and the credited writers dispute her role in its creation. The Fugees revive it in 1996, selling millions more, yet the original spark remains contested. From disputes over origins, we move into a courtroom battle involving one of pop's tightest harmonies. Next is number 12, How Deep Is Your Love? Bee Gees, 1977.
How deep is your love? Is your love? How deep is your love?
Written for Saturday Night Fever in 1977, it becomes one of the Bee Gees' most enduring ballads, topping the US chart and spending 33 weeks there. Smooth harmonies hide a legal fight. Songwriter Ronald Sell sues in 1983, claiming the melody copies his work. In 1984, a jury sides with Sell, but a judge overturns the verdict, citing lack of proof of access. The Bee Gees keep the win. The track earns a Grammy and sells millions globally. Recorded at Criteria Studios in Miami, its layered vocals become a blueprint for late 70s pop production. Even in court, the brothers defend every note. From the courtroom, we head into a song built on borrowed classical genius that still conquered radio. On to number 11, All By Myself, Eric Carmen, 1975. In 1975, Eric Carmen creates a song based on a melody from Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2. It's a bold mix of classical and pop, and it pays off. The track becomes a global hit, reaching number 2 on the US charts and earning millions in royalties. But Carmen, battling personal loneliness, admits the song's origins came from his own heartbreak. Initially written as a more personal, melancholic track, it becomes his signature song, even though he later shares royalties with Rachmaninoff's estate. All By Myself forever shifts Carmen's career, making him both a pop idol and a figure in classical crossover history. It's one of the most famous breakup ballads, but the next song was born from a stunning, secret betrayal. Shifting to number 10, Do You Think I'm Sexy? Rod Stewart, 1978. In 1978, Rod Stewart drops Do You Think I'm Sexy, a bold disco-fueled anthem. It rockets to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, but there's a twist. The song's rhythm and chorus strongly resemble Jorge Ben's 1963 Brazilian tune, Taj Mahal. Stewart faces legal action. In the end, after a settlement, Stewart donates the song's royalties to UNICEF. Despite the controversy, it defines Stewart's late 70s sound, blending rock with disco. The catchy hook becomes a cultural landmark, cementing his place in the pop world. Yet, the track's genesis was far more complicated than just sexy swagger. Next, we move into a song about obsession disguised as flirtation. Moving forward to number 9, My Sharona, The Knack, 1979.
My Sharona.
In 1979, My Sharona bursts onto the scene. The Knack's debut single becomes a massive hit, reaching number 1 on the US charts. Written by Doug Fieger, it's about his obsession with 16-year-old Sharona Alperin, who he'd met in Los Angeles. The song's riff, instantly recognizable, makes it a staple of rock radio, but its origin story raises eyebrows. Fieger's fixation on Sharona isn't kept a secret. He openly admits she's the muse. Her fame skyrockets too, with Sharona's name etched into pop history. Despite the controversy, the song remains one of the era's most iconic tracks. But the next entry is a love song from the depths of heartbreak and betrayal. Now for number 8, Songbird, Fleetwood Mac, 1977.
And the songbirds are singing like they know the
In 1977, Fleetwood Mac's Songbird rises as a fragile love anthem. Written by Christine McVie, it's an emotional outpouring recorded during a tumultuous period for the band. The song is born from a quiet moment in McVie's life, but it's deeply tied to the band's internal conflicts. McVie, facing a personal crisis, pours all her vulnerability into the track. Despite the strained relationships within Fleetwood Mac, the song is a tender, pure expression of hope and love. Recorded in an empty theater, it strikes listeners with its haunting piano melody. The next track is the sound of conflict wrapped in a sweet melody. Now next is number 7, Go Your Own Way, Fleetwood Mac, 1977.
You can go your own way. Go your own way.
Released as the first single from Rumors, it storms to number 10 on the US charts. Lindsey Buckingham writes it about his breakup with Stevie Nicks during the album's recording. The line, "Shacking up is all you want to do," infuriates Nicks, who demands it be removed. He refuses. Tensions explode in the studio, yet the band records it together, harmonizing on the very words that caused the fight. Mick Fleetwood's pounding drums drive the track, recorded in Sausalito's record plant amid alcohol, cocaine, and personal feuds. Despite the chaos, it becomes a radio staple. The next track would prove even silkier, but was written while love inside the band was falling apart. Let's move on to number 6, Dreams, Fleetwood Mac, 1977.
Now there you go again, you say you want your free.
The only number 1 single in Fleetwood Mac's history. Stevie Nicks writes it in just 10 minutes, sitting alone in a small studio in Sly Stone's old house. Inspired by her breakup with Buckingham, it hides heartbreak behind smooth rhythms. Christine McVie says she didn't like it at first, too simple. Yet it sells millions, helping Rumors move over 40 million copies worldwide. Decades later, it surges back in 2020 after a TikTok video sends streams up 374%. It's now one of the most played classic rock songs in history. Next comes a farewell song so personal that most listeners mistake it for a romantic goodbye. Now at number 5, I Will Always Love You, Dolly Parton, 1973.
And I will always.
Written in 1973 as a farewell to Porter Wagoner, her mentor and TV duet partner. Dolly had decided to leave his show after 7 years despite his resistance. She penned it overnight, recording it in RCA Studio B, Nashville. It reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart twice, first in 1974, then again in 1982. Elvis Presley wanted to record it, but his manager demanded half the publishing rights. Dolly refused. Whitney Houston's 1992 version sold over 20 million copies, becoming one of the best-selling singles of all time. Yet the song began not in romance, but in the bittersweet end of a professional bond. Now we meet a track whose gentle tone hides a sting in every line. Now for number 4, Wild World, Cat Stevens, 1970.
Oh, baby, baby, it's a wild world.
Released in 1970, it becomes Stevens' first U.S. hit, reaching number 11 on Billboard. Inspired by his breakup with model Patty d'Arbanville, it's framed as advice to her. But many listeners hear it as patronizing, even controlling. Recorded at Morgan Studios in London, its sparse arrangement contrasts with the emotional weight of the lyrics. The song spreads worldwide, covered by over 50 artists in multiple languages. Stevens later says he meant to warn her about the dangers of fame, not belittle her. Still, the original's tone sparks debate decades later. Its legacy rests between tenderness and quiet criticism. The next entry became a decades-long guessing game over who the target really was. Let's move on to number 3, You're So Vain, Carly Simon, 1972.
You're so vain. You probably think that This song is
Released in November 1972, it climbs to number 1 in January 1973, holding the spot for 3 weeks. The song fuels decades of speculation over who it's aimed at. Simon confirms Warren Beatty inspired at least one verse, but also hints multiple men are in it. Recorded with Mick Jagger singing uncredited backing vocals, it's produced at Trident Studios in London. The lyrics capture arrogance so vividly that even those who weren't the subject suspected they might be. In 2015, Simon reveals the second verse is about Beatty, but the rest remains a secret. The mystery itself becomes part of pop culture. Now comes a wedding favorite written in a single night of waiting and quiet frustration. Heading into number 2, Wonderful Tonight, Eric Clapton, 1977.
You look wonderful tonight.
Composed in September 1976 while Clapton waited for Pattie Boyd to get ready for a Paul McCartney party. Simple chords, heartfelt words, recorded for his Slow Hand album in 1977. It peaks at number 16 in the US, but becomes a long-term wedding standard worldwide. The backstory is less romantic. Clapton was battling alcoholism and his marriage to Boyd would later collapse. Boyd says the night it was written was far from idyllic. She was annoyed at being watched while dressing. Yet the song endures, covered by dozens of artists and played at countless first dances. Beauty born from a tense moment. The final track is the most obsessive confession of them all. And finally, at number 1, Layla, Derek and the Dominoes, 1970. Recorded in 1970 for the double album Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs. Eric Clapton writes it while consumed by his secret love for Pattie Boyd, wife of his close friend George Harrison. Inspired by the Persian love story Layla and Manjun, it channels unrequited passion and despair. The searing riff is co-written with Duane Allman, whose slide guitar cuts through the track. Allman dies in a motorcycle accident a year later, making his performance legendary. The piano coda is composed by drummer Jim Gordon, later convicted of murdering his mother. Initially, the song barely charts. Years later, it's hailed as one of rock's greatest love songs, forever tied to obsession, betrayal, and tragedy. If you love these shocking music secrets, check out our other videos for more untold stories. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss one.